following these latest escalation of Israeli attacks in Iranian territory. Let's recall, we were saying among the confirmed victims were 2 Iranian nuclear scientists killed in the attacks. This was confirmed by Tasnim agency, Iran's news agency, that reported that nuclear scientists Mohammad Mehdi Tehranchi and Feridou Abbasi were killed in the latest Israeli strikes. Also, in this series of latest confirmations of the latest victims of these attacks were the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Commander-in-Chief Hossein Salami. We are going through among the most significant murders that took place very early this morning in these attacks that are being carried out by Israel in Iranian territory. We're talking about 2 nuclear scientists, and also in this case the commander-in-chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hossein Salami, as one of the martyred victims, casualties of the strikes, which have also have civilian casualties, including women and children. Of course, this is all very recent, so official reports will continue to come in, and we will have more precision on the amount, for example, of civilian casualties that have been caused by these latest strikes. But at this moment, this is the information that the different news outlets, including the national agency from Iran, is giving the world. The death of the assassination in this latest Israeli strikes of top military officials and also nuclear scientists. We continue giving the information on this latest strikes, and we were talking about the importance and the relevance of the reaction that comes from the United States, a major ally of Israel. In this case, U.S. Senator Jack Reed, one of the top Democrats on the Senate Armed Services Committee, has slammed these attacks as reckless escalation by Israel. We have said that during different reactions and different statements, U.S. officials have, in this first moments, distanced themselves from these latest Israeli attacks. We were also commenting on the statements made by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said that Israel's strikes against Iran were a unilateral action and said that Washington was not involved, while also urging Tehran not to target U.S. interests or personnel in the region. We've also said reports of civilians killed in Israel's strikes on Tehran. This was reported by Iran's state media in the latest Israeli strikes on residential buildings in the Iranian capital that killed a number of civilians, including children, according to Iranian state media. A number of people, including women and children, were martyred in a residential complex in Tehran. This was confirmed by IRNA news agency over an hour ago. Also, Iran's Press TV has said that Natanz nuclear facility was targeted. The state-owned media outlet has shared footage of fire and smoke billowing from a site that it said to have reportedly being hit, the Natanz nuclear facility in central Iran. We were talking about these latest Israeli attacks in Iranian territory, occurring not only in the Iranian capital of Tehran, but also through the territory, targeting nuclear facilities in particular, and Natanz nuclear facility was one of them. In that these targeted attacks, we have also highlighted the death of 2 nuclear scientists. One of the representations of how these attacks have not only targeted military facilities or military commanders, but also in particular the nuclear facilities and nuclear capacities of Iran. In this case, by killing some top scientists of the nation. The attacks focused on neighborhoods in Tehran that are known as residential areas for military officials. This is also a bit of information that has been released through different news outlets. In the capital, around 3 a.m. local time, there were sounds of explosions. Between 6 to 9 explosions were reported in the capital of the country. These are reports that have already been processed and have happened a few hours ago. Let's recall we're going through the live images and images from the past hours representing the attacks that have been carried out by Israel throughout Iranian territory. Also, State TV IRIV has confirmed the happening of the explosions and has shown footage of different places from which we can clearly see smoke coming out of the scene. We know so far of different parts in the western neighborhood of the capital in Mahalati, located in the northeastern part of the city. We're talking about Tehran, the Iranian capital, which is known as a residential area and is known for having buildings that relate to residence of military officials. We were talking as we look at images from the attacks. We are looking at the aftermath of these latest Israeli attacks that have targeted not only military facilities and not only nuclear facilities as well, but also, as we are looking at the images, residential buildings as well, as Iran also reports civilian victims. We were briefly seeing an image also the reaction of the military forces that have expressed themselves and taken to the social networks X. In this case, the Iranian military has posted on X a post that said, "Remember, we didn't initiate it," making reference to these latest attacks that have began a few hours ago in a coordinated effort and targeted military, nuclear, and civilian sites, leading to a number of casualties in Iranian territory, including the death of top military officials and also nuclear scientists, as we were saying before. We were also going through international reactions to these latest attacks, as different authorities have said that these attacks have no international legal ground whatsoever. Also, in some latest updates, a White House statement has confirmed that President Trump will convene a meeting of the National Security Council in Washington, D.C. on Friday morning at 11 a.m. local time to discuss Israel's attacks on Iran. This is the latest news from the U.S. reaction to this latest Israeli attacks. We were saying that through different top officials, in particularly by the statements of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the U.S. has had on a first reaction distanced itself from these attacks carried out by Israel, saying that this was a unilateral action and that Washington was not involved. And now we see in a recent development that the White House is confirming that President Donald Trump has convened a meeting of the National Security Council in Washington, D.C. for Friday morning at 11 a.m. local time in an effort to discuss Israel's attacks on Iran. More reactions on the recent attacks. Top Iranian General Bagheri has stated that he has not been harmed. Iran's official news agency dispels rumors that top Iranian General Mohammad Bagheri has been assassinated. IRNA said that Bagheri is currently in a war room and has not been harmed. So in this case, the rumors have been dispelled by the Iran's official news agencies regarding Iranian General Mohammad Bagheri. Let's recall that different news outlets have confirmed different murders and death of important top officials from the military corps in Iran, also nuclear scientists. We were confirming the names of some of these martyrs that follow the recent attacks from Israel. And in this case, Iran's official news agency, in some of its latest statements, has dispelled the rumors regarding top Iranian General Mohammad Bagheri being among the victims. In this case, IRNA news agency states that for the case of General Bagheri, he is currently in a war room and remains unharmed. We continue going through reactions in terms of the geopolitical impact that these attacks have. And Israel has stated that Israel's UN ambassador Danny Danon has said that his country is holding ongoing dialogue with Washington, but its decision to strike Iran was an independent Israeli move. So in this case, the declaration, the statement made by Israel's UN ambassador confirms the statements of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, stating that this action does not involve U.S. decision. This is what the top officials are maintaining in their statements. In this case, Israel's UN ambassador Danon also stated that he doesn't want to go into speculation regarding these attacks. Let's recall and we reiterate, we are giving the information in this breaking news, the top news of the day, as Israel has launched a major attack on Iranian territory. Iran is reporting civilian sites that were hit, civilian casualties, including women and children, across the territory, particularly in the capital city of Tehran. And we continue to give the information on this new operation attacks and the impact it is going to have in the region in particular, and at a global level in terms of geopolitics in the attack of the Israeli regime over Iranian territory. We continue to go over reactions as the National Iranian American Council has said that Israel's massive airstrikes inside Iran lacked legal justification under international law. These are some of the international reactions that have been carried out. And also we continue to see reactions. For example, we have Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel on screen took to X to state that we condemn in the strongest terms the attacks perpetrated by Israel against the Islamic Republic of Iran, which are recklessly raising tensions in the Middle East and endangering international and regional peace and security with unforeseeable consequences. Let's recall this is the statement of the president of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel, on these recent attacks, major attacks launched by the state and the regime of Israel on Iranian territory. We continue to see how international reactions are calling these recent attacks as unfounded and against international law, also against the calls of the entire international community that have continuously, through the past years, been calling on Israel to de-escalate, not only to stop the ongoing genocide in Gaza, but to stop all aggressions in the territory and in the region regarding its expansionist aspirations. So we were looking at images with this breaking news. We were bringing you the latest of what we know so far from this major escalation of Israel against Iran. We will, of course, continue to bring you all the information in upcoming news briefs. Stay tuned with teleSUR English.
What